This is Six Tackles with Gus, with Matthew Thompson and Gus Gould.
Welcome to Six Tackles. Great to be back with you 7 days away from Origin 1 from Accor Stadium. Of course, live and exclusive coverage here on 9 and 9 now. So much to get through today. We'll have a look at the selections and Gus's slant on them. What does Gus remember about his time in Origin camp, particularly the early days? A little bit different to these days, I would imagine. Some Ask Gus questions, and always hard to preview club football when Origin players are out, but we'll try our best. Welcome, Gus.
Matthew Thompson, how you doing?
Good. It's a little bit cool at the moment. You croaky. You good?
I got something caught in my throat. I don't know what it is.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a bit annoying, actually.
Do you want me to have a look?
No.
A lot to discuss. What's happening in the game? I've actually we don't deal in exclusives very often here, but I've got one coming up.
Yeah.
I've got hold of the schedule for New South Wales for their first week in the relocated camp up there in the Blue Mountains, Lura.
Yes.
Beautiful part of New South Wales.
Yes.
But a little cool.
Yes.
It's like sub-zero cool.
Yes.
So
Not a lot happening in Lura.
no. But there is a schedule that has been put together by Michael Maguire and his team to help bring the team together, and I've actually got my hands on it. So
Okay.
I'm going to reveal to you and our listeners shortly. Round 12, a lot of points scored. Great attacking footy.
Phenomenal. Defence went out the window, didn't it?
Yeah.
I said on 100% footy, I couldn't coach in this day and age. I couldn't sit there and watch my team do that. It's ridiculous, the amount of points that were conceded. Incredible. I suppose, new rules and football is getting better and more ways to score tries. Exciting stuff. Was entertaining.
Yeah.
Broncos scored, 34 points and got beaten.
That was a strange game. I don't know whether that's more of a tribute to the tenacity of the Titans. I mean, previously, you reckon they'd have just fallen in a heap, but they just kept coming. But it was the kind of game that suited them, I suppose.
Yeah, they've been good for about 6 weeks, the Titans. They've been in most of their contests, and they've all been high-scoring affairs. Yeah. I don't think I could sleep for a month if my team scored 34 points and got beaten. I couldn't possibly be happy about that.
So who do you reckon was the best team of round 12? We called the Bulldogs game here on Thursday night. Very good, Canterbury. After a tough first half. Geez, you blew them away.
Yeah, they were good. I was actually pretty confident at half-time, actually. And not that I expected the score to blow out to that bit, but everything that they were wanting to do was going to plan, and the second half went very well for them.
Yes.
Coming into a difficult period, though.
So I was down at PointsBet Stadium for the Saturday game between the Panthers and the Sharks. Full house. Calling it for the radio with Darryl and Gal, who was on the sideline, and honestly, I could not believe what was happening.
Well, when the Panthers get it right, there's no one in the competition that can beat them. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And I think that Panthers put a big premium on that game.
Yeah.
They've been beaten by Warriors the week before up at Magic Round, unexpectedly. And knowing they're coming into the Origin period and they're going to lose a lot of players during that time, it became a very vital 2 points for them, where I felt like the Sharks back at home after good wins over quality opposition the previous 2 weeks probably just wanted to continue on in that vein, and they didn't get that sort of game. The Panthers have been brilliant over the last 3 or 4 years, playing in grand finals, leading the way in that grinding finals, tough, unrelenting style of football. And the Sharks just weren't prepared for it at all. Really, it was finals come early, and the Sharks just wanted another club game at home, and it didn't fall their way at all, and they fell apart pretty quickly. The Panthers were far too good, and when they get it right, they're still the team to beat in this competition. Good lesson for the Sharks, though. I think that's a valuable one. It's not nice when you get a lesson like that, and when it's so significant as that, it can dent your confidence a little bit. But if I was the coach, I'd be looking at the other way. That's the one I want to see right now, halfway through the season. If it's August, September, and you get one of those, you can't recover. But, to be doing it now in May, after you've had a good run, you're still leading the competition, and then you've thought, well, if we thought we were ready, we're not. We've still got a long way to go. They've only got to beat Penrith once to win the premiership, and that gives them indication now where they need to improve and what they need to do. I think they'll gain a lot out of that. When the dust settles, I think that's a perfect result for the Sharks where they are right now.
Yep. Reality check.
Absolutely. It just, they were cruising along and at the top of the competition, and it was all going so comfortably for them. It's just a reminder, remembering too that they've failed at the finals level the last 2 years as well. So they've still got
They haven't won a game in the finals.
No, they've still got a ways to go. And that's a stark reminder of what it's going to take if they want to win a premiership or compete at finals times. And there's no one does it better than the Panthers right at the moment.
Yeah, it was interesting, the mentality of Penrith going in. It's a dismissed almost. Like everyone was talking about Cronulla will win. Everyone's tipping Cronulla. I haven't seen Penrith just dismissed out of hand like that heading into a game for many, many years. And everyone, I think people forgot they won the last 3 comps.
Yeah, particularly without Cleary and the fact that they'd sort of stumbled the week before against the Warriors. It was quite a performance, and it was over early. I mean, you could see very early that they were just far too physically superior and committed to the Sharks. Now, the Sharks held on all right in the second half. They spent a lot of time on their own try line and were quite resilient during periods there, even though they lost the second half, I think 14-0 or something. But, dominant display by the Panthers, and I think the perfect result for the Sharks in the course of their season. You get a lesson like that, it can be very valuable to you.
Manly over at Brookie, very good. Young Hopawate went well at fullback.
Yeah, they did. They did. They've had a little bit of the wood on the Storm at Brookie the last couple of years. They get there and physically get into them, and that was a stellar performance as well. I really liked that performance. There were some good ones over the weekend. There were some bad ones too. There were some poor games, but big scorelines.
All right. I've got the Blues schedule.
Right.
This might surprise you.
Right.
Do you want me to take you through it? Start it today.
Is this serious or a G up?
Well, I've just got it in front of me.
You've got that G
today,
up. You've got that G up face on you.
Today at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Wake up call for the players who were reminded to wear their New South Wales Rugby League branded thermals to counter the sub-zero temperatures of Lura. Today's theme is history. There's different themes each day. Never forget what comes before you. After breakfast, the team assembled on a bus for a trip to the Zigzag Railway.
Have you been to the Zigzag Railway?
And the accompanying glowworm tunnel, one of the main attractions up there in the Blue Mountains. And following that, the team splits into positions and they'll ride in the cable car together. Good start.
Sounds exciting.
Thursday, adrenaline day tomorrow. This worries me a little bit. Team leaves camp at 4 a.m. Again, players reminded to wear thermals. For a 100-kilometre hike through the walking trails. Includes historic lesson of the Three Sisters and Echo Point. Following this, to exercise the demons of previous camps, the team will be going horse riding.
What could possibly go wrong?
Players are advised paramedics are on standby. And it was determined that it would be appropriate to do this early in the camp to allow sufficient time to make replacements should that be required.
Absolutely. We need an 18th, 19th and 20th man up there just in case.
After lunch, snowball fights in Blackheath.
Always a hit.
For those that have survived, there'll be a bonding night at a microbrewery, and for those that don't drink, kombucha will be provided. Friday, motivation. Players will bear the cold with a wild swim at the Katoomba Cascades. Recommended that players take their thermals to wear after the swim. There'll be a lunch trip over the mountain, Gus, to visit the clubhouse. Now, we mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. The clubhouse of the Lithgow Shamrocks.
Lithgow Shamrocks, yeah.
Where they will be entertained or at least motivated by an address by rampaging Roy Slaven and H.G. Nelson.
Gets you going.
Yep. Saturday, day off.
Day off. It's races day.
Can't get to the pun. Sunday, the team will visit the historic Clarendon Theatre for a Sunday matinee performance of Cats, followed by Devonshire Tea. And then they've got to start thinking about the game.
Sounds like the perfect preparation.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think when they book the camp to Lura, they realise how cold it'll be this time of year? It's freaking freezing.
I saw players toting their golf clubs on the way to camp. They're all taking their golf clubs up to play the beautiful Lura golf course. You ever played at Lura?
No, I haven't.
Very narrow and very hilly.
Yeah, right.
You'd lose a heap of balls up there.
Please.
You couldn't keep it on the planet.
Oh, you've never even seen me play. So there you go. That's what they're doing. The 100-kilometre hike through past the Three Sisters might be a bit too much. Yeah. Can I just say, and I love the Blue Mountains, but is there anything more boring than going and seeing the Three Sisters? Looking at three rocks?
Yeah, well...
How boring is it?
I'm 66 years of age. I've only ever seen a photo of them. I've never been there.
You're missing nothing. There's 3 rocks sitting there. The 3 sisters.
I used to go over the Blue Mountains a lot, particularly when I was working at Panthers, because I used to go up to Bathurst a fair bit, and I used to like drives out to the country. But I love going down the other side of the mountains when you go past Victoria Falls and you come out and you see the Western Plains, and it's absolutely glorious views there. But I've never really ventured into the Blue Mountains to look at all the tourist attractions. It's never been one of my things.
Kombucha, very big up there.
No, I'm a Sydney boy.
Yeah, you get to the top of the mountain and you look out over the plateau and you think that's what Blaxland, Lawson, and Wentworth saw when they got up there.
LBW.
That's right. Okay, let's do a yes/no segment.
No. That's the rule. No. Dear.
How do you think your Origin teams would have taken a schedule like that?
I'd have lost them. They'd have jumped on a train or something overnight and come back to the city lights. Wouldn't be much for them to do.
They wouldn't like it up in the mountain.
Wouldn't be much for them to do in Lura, no.
Would David Gillespie still have turned up?
No. Well, David Gillespie would still be in the foyer at the Coogee. The Crown Plaza at the Coogee.
Gus, Queensland's mind games are getting old.
No.
They never get old.
They've started.
Yeah,
Harry Grant.
Even if they repeat them over and over and over, they never get old.
Harry Grant got sick. Day 2 of camp. Normally it's 48 hours before.
Yeah, but there's more to come. Someone will limp off for training on Saturday or something.
Ruled out.
Someone will be in doubt on Monday. They'll bring in a replacement on Tuesday. They'll bring in an 18th man or 19th man on Tuesday. Something will happen.
Oh dear! I just think it's fabulous. It's just the best. All the mind.
It's great theatre.
That's great theatre.
I'll guarantee you that by next Tuesday night, everyone will be convinced that Queensland are underdogs.
Yeah.
They'll somehow make New South Wales favourites again.
How many times do you reckon the King would have been in doubt 48 hours before Origin?
Never. He was never in doubt.
No, but
I don't know how many times they said it.
He was always
There's always
something wrong with
someone
him.
in doubt. They've always got some chip on their shoulder. They've got to win it for so-and-so or win it for so-and-so. They come up with a reason every time.
Yeah.
They love it. They love being underdogs. It doesn't work when they're favourites. It just doesn't work for them. They will sit around camp, hold hands, and convince each other that they're the downtrodden and they're the disrespected. And
because they're in Sydney, it kind of works.
They're against the world.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work unless it's like that for Queensland.
I'm not sure.
I love the theatre.
Queensland can't even convince themselves they're outsiders this time.
Oh, they will. They'll be convinced. There'll be something that upsets them. They're masters at it. They'll be underdogs in their own mind, and they'll play like underdogs. They'll play like underdogs. That's what makes them so great.
We'll run the rule over the team shortly, but my next question is: Selwyn Cobbo will struggle to get on the field in Origin 1.
No, I think they've got a plan for him.
Okay.
Number one, it's highly likely that someone will get injured anyway. There will be a HIA, particularly because we bring them off very quickly these days. There is a statistic going around in the NRL now, and ever since the increasing number of HIAs and the HIA man in the bunker who pulls people off pretty quickly, teams that do not have adequate coverage on the bench for outside backs are losing about 84% of their games.
84%?
It's an incredible stat that if you lose an outside back before half-time and you didn't have a specialist outside back to cover it, I think you're only winning 16% of your games, one in 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's damning.
Yeah.
So, on that basis, all NRL coaches need to pick a outside back on the bench.
Well, it's fast. Some have got versatile players and outside and forwards that can do it adequately, but it's getting more and more the case, and I can hear it in coaches now, thinking that they've got to keep an adequate coverage on the bench for an outside back because they're hard to replace during the game. And if you're playing the wrong team, if you're playing one of the good sides or one of the teams with great outside backs and you are forced to play a forward there for a great length of time, it will come against you. Now, in the Origin last year, if you remember, Tom Trbojevic went down in the first minute of Game 2, and the only coverage they had was for Damien Cook,
yes,
the reserve hooker, to go into the centres, and that turned out to be a disaster. So Billy Slater also said that in 4 of the last 5 Origins, they've had to replace an outside back. So he said, well, we're going to have to need to do that. So now he's gone the way of an outside back in Cobbo that covers centre, wing, both sides of the field, can also cover fullback if need be, but can also play in the forwards. So rather than a forward that can play in the backs, he's actually got a back that he thinks can play in the forwards. And if you remember, fellas like Daly Cherry Evans and Ben Hunn and even Kalen Ponga, I think Kalen Ponga's debut in first grade, he played lock forward for a period of game. And Selwyn Cobbo has played in the forwards as a young fella. And I've got a.
Did he?
Yeah, he did play in the forwards as a young fella. And I've got a memory of last year at Belmore Oval, the Broncos were playing the Bulldogs. And he might have even spent some time at lock forward in that game. They had a few injuries and they moved a few people around. And I'm sure I saw him playing in the middle of the field in that game. Now, once the game gets up and running, athletically, players can go into the middle of the field and cope for that period of time. You don't necessarily want them starting games there or being out there for great periods of time. But I can see Selwyn Cobbo being used as a shock replacement, 10, 15 minutes into the second half or 10 minutes before half time, coming onto the field in the lock forward position if they think they're on top or they need points and making an impact. So
this is fatigue. So this is why it works in Origin, you think, because fatigue is so profound.
And they're great players. They can play anywhere.
Well, Cooper Cronk did it at the start of his career as well.
They're great players. They can fill in anywhere. And once everyone's out there in Origin, they're all fatigued after 10 or 15 minutes. The pace of the game is so quickly. So it's from about the 10th minute on, it's survival mode for everyone. They're so tough. They're so strong. They're so fit. So positions really don't mean anything. The number on your back really doesn't mean anything. It's been a catch cry of Origin teams, both New South Wales and Queensland, for years and years and years. You could be asked to play any position at any time. You may need to do a role. So the number on your back doesn't really mean anything. It's really to get out there and do whatever's necessary. I've got vision in the old days of Queensland sides. And they used to have this called get on board. And what they do is throw the ball to Alan Langer, and the whole Queensland team would be in one half of the field, one side of the field. Play the ball might be near the goalpost. Everyone would be in this side of the field, just trying to outnumber what was in front of them. Queensland's style of football in Origin was very unique and personal back then.
Yeah. How is it that
positions
Origin
meant nothing?
Yeah. How is it that Origin, in Origin football, like what you just mentioned there, you would never see that in club football?
No, not really.
How do you? I marvel at how unconventional it can be sometimes.
Well, it's the best players, and the result means everything. It's what I say. On the Shield, all they put is win-loss, who won and who lost. They don't put down how it happened, why it happened, who had bad luck, who got injuries, what the referee did, what the weather was. They don't write anything down. They just write down who won or lost. That's all that matters, is win or loss. So you've got to do whatever's necessary to get there. And players scoring tries when out of position or coming up with great defensive plays. It's just a matter of getting a number of jerseys around the ball, and doing it. It's a different brand of football.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
And if you coach it as a club side and you treat it as just a repeat of club football and try to come into club combinations, it can come against you. It needs to be more than that. This is There's a big price on the result, win or loss. They don't draw pictures after it to say how it happened. That's not recorded in history. It's not recorded who was unlucky or who was lucky or who got the bounce of the ball or whether the referee made a mistake or who got injured and who was down on troops. And that we don't record all that. We just record who won or lost. No one cares how it happened. So you've got to get it right on the day. And I can see the sense in Selwyn Cobbo. I can see him being used as a weapon. So that answers your question. He will get on the field, either as a replacement for an injured outside back, or they will use him judiciously in the middle of the field at some stage.
All right, debut players are a boost in an Origin team.
Can be. I'm always excited for debut players. And one of the things to do is to convince them that they're ready and convince them that they're born to be in this. we only pick certain types of people for Origin teams, and it's usually based on character and work ethic more than anything. Debut players can give your team a lift. The New South Wales team at the moment, I said as soon as Michael Maguire was appointed, and you look at the coaches we've had in previous years who were all pretty much former Origin players, your Ricky Stewart, your Laurie Daly, your Brad Fittler, they were all former Origin players and all came from a very similar era, all played together in Origin and would have a similar mindset around Origin camps and how Origin is played and the motivation for it and game plans and even camps and how camps are run and preparations are run. They'd all have similar sort of views. They might vary a little bit, trying to make it different, but basically it's been a continuum over a long period of time of former players coaching the Origin team. Now we get a bloke who's never played Origin before, never been in the Origin camp scene before, who's going to come in with a fresh set of eyes. The bonus is he's coached at rep level before, coaching New Zealand, and quite successfully. But it was going to be a new set of eyes right across the whole system. Now, would he just adopt what they've done in the past with regard to selections and team camps and locations, or would he put his own stamp on it, set a fresh set of eyes over it and just do it his own way? Well, you've got your answer straight away. And I was saying for months coming into this, A, don't pick your team until the medical. Well, that proved to be correct. And 2, there will be a lot of shocks in this team. There will be a lot of shocks. You won't be able to pick this team. No one will pick it right, even a week out from the game, because I just knew what was coming.
I don't think there's that many shocks, do you?
I think I don't think anyone would have got it all right. I might have got 1 or 2 of the changes okay, but so and even the camp, even to be going to Katoomba, locking them for 5 days away up there, and I guess all of this is going to be tested next Wednesday night. If you want to know what they're doing is right, if you want to know it's the right team, if you want to know the selection process worked, if you want to know the camp worked, if you want to know that the preparation worked, you'll get your test next Wednesday night. The ultimate test is to go and play against Queensland. That's the ultimate test. So next Wednesday night, we will get our answer as to whether or not Michael Maguire and his team are on the right path. I think they've picked a good side. It's a side based with a strategy it's at least based with a philosophy on pure work ethic and consistent performance. And all of those players that they've picked, I think you know what you're going to get because you see it week in, week out. There's no one there that's hot and cold at club level, that's relies on other players at club level. My only question mark is a little bit on Spencer Leniu because he's an impact player off the bench. He's not an 80-minute player, and if injuries forced him onto the field and he had to play 70 minutes, I think that becomes an issue for him and the team. But if he's able to be used as he is in club football with a couple of short 10-minute stints, he could be a game changer. No risk in the world, and they've taken that gamble. They've taken the gamble not to have a specialist back on the bench to cover outside backs.
Let's hold fire on that. I'll get your in-depth thoughts in a minute.
Am I talking too much?
No.
Just say shut up. Shut up, mate.
I will never tell you to shut up. It's your podcast. But I want to get your thoughts. I'll read the teams out and we'll get your thoughts on it. Let's hear from Billy first.
Yeah, look, this team doesn't get built, over the last 24 hours or over the last 7 days. It's a collection of habits that I've accumulated over the course of the year, and obviously what players have done in the past, and I wouldn't say comfortable. That's probably not the word that I feel right now, but certainly excited about getting to work, and we've got 10 days of preparation to go and recreate some habits in our footy team and get our game on.
He has a different sort of theme every year, or a bit of a catchphrase. Habits. He's talking a lot about habits.
Yep. Yeah, I think themes are really important. I think, your mindset starts right from the start, and it comes from the coach, comes from the leader.
What habits is the Queensland coach looking for?
They know what they want in their football team. They want team-minded people for a start. They want people with attention to detail. They want people that are prepared to sacrifice. It's everything is for the team. Everything is for the jersey and for the people that they represent. There's no selfishness. There is no me first. There is no self-interest in anything that they do. Queensland go about their preparations and go about their job very, very quietly, but it's passed down from player to player, team to team, generation to generation. Billy Slater just continues on with everything he's ever learned in Origin and adapting that to the modern day player and helping them understand the true values of wearing the maroon jersey. He's making coaching look very easy, and that's obviously a help with his media work that he does, but he looks extremely comfortable in answering questions, in explaining away his philosophy, in not giving too much away, but at the same time informing the fans that everything's under control. And that sort of confidence carries over to the team. And, Queensland do their Origin brilliantly. They have done for 40-odd years. It doesn't matter really who's coaching them, whether it's a Wayne Bennett or it's a Paul Vaughton or it's a Michael Hagan or all the coaches they've had down through the ages. It doesn't really matter. Whoever is the head coach, he can turn behind him and see all the others still lining up there ready to support and do whatever they can if needed to help. And Billy Slater, who was a part of that magical 10-year period for Queensland where they dominated New South Wales, obviously a part of those great Melbourne Storm teams, his association with the Thurstons and Cameron Smiths and Cooper Cronks and those wonderful, legendary players now, or they will be legends in time, gives him great confidence and stands him in good stead. They know what they want. They know how they want to feel. They know what they want to feel when they walk into camp. They know how they want the rookie to feel when he walks into camp. They know how they want to feel when they go out to train. They know what they want to feel when they go and have a drink together or when they go and have dinner together, when they go and visit people in outer Queensland areas, and they go and do clinics with kids, when they go and visit hospitals, when they go and speak to fans. They know how they want it to feel. They know what Origin feels like. This is how I want you to feel, because it will bubble up and bubble up and bubble up, and when you run out next Wednesday night, you will be bulletproof. You will go through anything to get the win for the team, and you'll die for the bloke alongside of you. You'll take a bullet for the team. It's as simple as that. And they know how Origin should feel and what they want to feel, because it's to get players up mentally and physically to play at the level they're about to play, which is a cut above club football week in, week out. And there's a cut above finals football that anything we see at that time when the best teams play the best teams. This is the best players playing against the best players. These players need to be prepared to get to that mindset, and Billy Slater has been through it so often. He knows how he wants it to feel. He just does, and he's doing a brilliant job.
With respect to team selection, obviously most people know the Queensland team, but Reece Walsh, Xavier Coates, Val Holmes, the Hammer, Talangi, Dearden at 6, Cherry Evans 7, then Cotter at prop, Hunt, Collins, Sewer, who returns to the Origin environment, Nane Carrigan, Grant Fodawaker, Hopgood on debut, Selwyn Cobbo, and then Felice Kafusi, Brendan Piakura, Ezra Mam. The couple I wanted to point to, now on form, you would probably say Cobbo ahead of Murray Talangi, but I think back to last year. Some of his defence in those first two games, it nearly won them the game.
Yeah.
Murray Talangi. So, again, that whole idea of habit and selflessness, he's obviously accrued some credits with his performances last year. And
so the other part of that is too, that if he thinks Cobbo can play in the forwards, he doesn't want him running around for 30 minutes on the wing and then having to go into the forwards and then Talangi come off the bench and play there.
Yeah.
So he's figuring, I'll keep Cobbo fresh in case I've got to use him as a forward, so that I'm helping him get through that, and he can easily get onto the outside backs as well. But Queensland sides, when Queensland sides are good, hard-working, no-nonsense forwards who don't do anything but hit it up, tackle, and keep getting into position to repel the opposition. Creative backs, creative halves and fullback, which they've got, and brilliant athletes in the outside backs who can turn half chances into tries. They can save tries, they can score tries. They can score tries chasing grubber kicks, jumping for high kicks. They can defend high kicks, they can defend grubber kicks. You only got to give them a half a chance, they'll get the ball down in the corner. So it's a traditional Queensland team built on hard work, some experienced creativity, Cherry Evans, some brilliance in a bloke like Reece Walsh, and brilliant finishing athleticism on the outside. It's a typical Queensland team. Very, very hard to beat. It will test the new philosophy of the New South Wales selections.
Hopgood's he's a real, cut from the mould origin.
Born and bred Queenslander.
player.
I remember when he came down to the Panthers many years ago as a young representative player. He actually played New South Wales under 18s against Matt Burton, who played. He played for Queensland under 18s.
Yep.
Matt Burton played for New South Wales under 18s. Matt Burton got man of the match because New South Wales won. Hopgood was probably the best player on the field. He played for Queensland. He was outstanding in the lock forward position.
He's carried Parra this year. He's been unbelievable.
He's been very, very good.
Right.
Well, he's been one of the consistent performers in a team where they've had players that probably haven't come up to their normal standards. So he's been consistent, and there's that word again, consistent. They know what they're going to get. He's also got the offload in him. He's the leading offloader in the competition, I think, or safe offloader. He's a very, very effective offloader. And that could be enough to turn a game. That could be enough just to bring one of the brilliant players into the action and break the game open. These moments, these origins, when they go down to the wire, it's just one moment that might decide the fate of both sides. And Hopgood's got the chance to come into that.
Could you see Cotter to the bench and maybe Fodawaker starting there?
I don't think so.
No?
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised what Billy does. Whatever he does, he'll do it for a reason. I'm not about to second guess that, nor as a New South Wales coach would I be worried about it. I just know that whoever plays out there will be doing the same job.
Yep. All right, for New South Wales, 6 new faces. Brad Fittler blooded 11 when he took over as coach in 2018. So, new coach, new look. Dylan Edwards, Brian To'o, Stephen Crichton, Joseph Swali'i in the centres, Zach Lomax, Jerome Luai, Nico Hines, who they say is going to train right throughout the week, Jake Trebojevic, the new captain, Reece Robson, Payne Harsley and Martin, Angus Crichton, Cameron McInnes, Isaiah Yeo, Hamali Olakauatu, Spencer Leniu, Hudson Young. Here's Michael Maguire.
I'm really happy with my squad. I've watched a lot of those players, watched pretty well every single one of their games. I did talk about when I was going to pick the team that I wanted them in form, and that's really a lot of what I see all those players across how I look at the game. They're all in really good form, and just the confidence in how they're talking and what they're saying. That gives me real confidence in what we're going to do this week.
Now, I know you made a comment like this on Monday night, but when I first saw that team picked, I thought he's gone against the usual mould here, and this is a relentless working New South Wales team. If you look at the back line, Edwards runs everywhere. To'o will run it all day. Swali'i the same. Lomax the same. The pack are all grafters. And then there's impact off the bench. Olakauatu, Leniu and Young. It looks a toiling New South Wales team rather than a superstar, exciting, outfit picked on reputation.
Yeah, it pretty much sums it up. You know what you're going to get from these players because you see it week in, week out. And I knew that's how the team would be picked. It's probably been picked more on statistics than anything, just more on numbers that these blokes are producing every week. They've been the top performers in those positions or in their roles within their team, and they've mashed it together now to come up with a side. A lot of changes. If you think back to Game 3 last year, New South Wales won 24-10, quite dominant in that game. There are 12 changes from that game, 12 from a winning situation. So he's virtually thrown the past out the window. He's ripped up that score sheet and he's purely gone on what he thinks is in form and can do the job at Origin level this time around. I've always said you can't pick a bad Origin team. It's not like a club where you've got a salary cap. So if your main players and your highest paid players aren't available, you're either going to a younger, inexperienced player or one that's probably not as experienced or as good as the one that's gone out. That's not the case with Origin teams. You just go and get another good player. Now, there's been a lot of injuries, but I wouldn't be too worried about the ones that are missing out. I'd look more at the ones that are coming in. It's a good side. It's a strong side, and it's got a high work ethic. And if every one of them plays up to the same sort of numbers they're achieving week-to-week basis with their club, they'll win. If they all produce personal bests, they'll win. They've got to come together as a group. They've got to not be isolated in when things get tough on Wednesday night. They're playing against a team, Queensland, that have had a little bit more football together and have more combination. And as we know, there's 6 debut players here who, when it gets to Wednesday, they're going to still have those thoughts of, am I good enough and should I be here and should I be selected? And I know I've wanted this all my life, but crikey, here it is staring me in the face. They'll have those moments of doubt and anxiety and anguish. It's up to the coach to remove all that as much as he can during the course of the week, that when they get there to Wednesday, they've got the right mindset and believing in themselves and believing in the bloke alongside of them, that they can get the job done. That's the role. If you're going to bring in that many rookies, you've got to make sure that their mindset is next Wednesday night that they're the best available. They're the ones that are here to do it, and they've been born to do this, and everything about their club football suggests that they will, and they're going to be great New South Wales players, which Queensland are very, very good at doing. New South Wales, well, it remains to be seen. The philosophy for picking this team and the preparation will be put to the test next Wednesday night. There's no place to hide. We all know that's what's going to happen. So, so what you don't want to be going out onto an Origin field is hoping. You don't want to go out there hoping it goes all right, or wondering if it will go all right, or what will it be like, or will I be good enough? You can't. You've got to leave all those thoughts in the dressing room. When you go out, you've got to be an Origin player and ready to do it and prove it to yourself and your teammates. It's a pretty important mindset that you've got to have. So,
You surprised Suoliti at centre?
yes. I could have considered him as a winger, but they've chosen to pick him at centre.
Do you think he'll play centre?
I think he will. I don't think there'll be any changes to this team when they run out on Wednesday night.
You don't think Yo might start?
Yo would have been in my team. Yo would have been the first player picked in my team. Yo would have been my captain. But that's nothing against Jake Trbojevic, who's an inspiring leader and thoroughly deserves his recognition there. But I don't think I could pick a New South Wales team without Asaya Yo at the moment, who I think has probably been the best forward in the competition so far this year. That's not taking anything away from Cam McGuinness, who week in, week out puts his heart and soul into his game for the Sharks, and he's a hard worker and never takes a backward step. It's just and this could be a tactical thing. It could be a strategic thing that the coach is looking at. And he may change it before kickoff. I don't know. But if he was going to do that, why would he name it this way anyway?
Well, McInnes is probably, he's thinking, I'm guessing.
Well, it's Maguire's first game as Origin coach. I don't think he'll be going to be playing tricks in game one. I think he'll be as steady as she goes. And he's taken a 20-man squad up into camp. Whether that was just to get them acclimatised to being together, and thinks he's going to use these players during the series, so they may as well get started with the group now.
Well, they are going horse riding.
They're not going.
They might need them.
They're not going horse riding. But look, there are 4 forwards on the bench. That's a risk. There's no specialist half replacement. If a half goes down, a half 5'8", I do know that Cameron McGuinness is going to play that position.
Yeah.
And they're doing that on the fact that he played in that position for the Sharks against the Storm a couple of weeks ago. I don't know whether that's adequate enough to risk that in an Origin game. I think that's, but every time I try to look at the perfect bench player for New South Wales, I want to give Craig Wing a ring to see if he can come out of retirement, because he was always, for me, the perfect type replacement.
He's still fit.
I'm sure he is. There is a gamble. There is a distinct gamble in the way New South Wales have gone about this. Now, that's not to say it won't come off. That's not to say that 4 forwards on the bench won't be a huge asset on the night if everyone stays fit and well. If they don't lose an outside back, if Queensland don't lose an outside back during the game, then it's going to be a gamble what they do with Cobbo. Right? So someone's got to gamble on something. Queensland have gone this way based on the trends in previous Origins. As Billy Slater said, 4 of the last 5 games they've had to replace an outside back. And the fact that teams in clubland, if they haven't got an outside back on the bench and they're forced to make a move in the first half of games, are losing the majority of their games. They're losing the majority of their games. More than 80% of them are losing games if they've got to replace an outside back in the first half without a specialist outside back. So, I'd imagine that's the gamble that Queensland have taken. But in that, they've got players, like Patrick Carrigan and Cotter, and Collins, who can play big minutes in the middle as well. Hopgood can play big minutes in the middle. Even a Ben Hunt can go to lock forward and if Harry's playing dummy half, if the need comes to. But both sides have taken, and every bench is a gamble on what you cover. New South Wales have gone with 4 forwards. If they're going to cover an outside back, they're going to have to cover it with Hudson Young, or they're going to have to cover it with Angus Crichton, who are adequate, but, if it comes down to a foot race between them and Valentine Holmes or them and Hamaso, you know who's going to win.
So I'm reading between the lines here, and you would have preferred a 4-man bench, maybe including Burton as a live option, as backup, but also as a tactical option.
Well, yeah, a player that's got versatility to play. See, why Burton keeps being used as an 18th man is because he covers halves and he covers outside backs. He covers the centre position, and someone else can shuffle around. If you put a Luke Keary on the bench, he only really covers halves.
Yes.
So Burton gives you a little bit of an each-way bet.
Yeah. And he's big enough to play at lock or something if you needed him.
Well, he probably could, but that's, there's always a gamble. There's always a gamble, unless you've got that perfect. I was always blessed with having people like a Steve Menzies who could play anywhere on the field, and a Craig Wing who could play anywhere on the field, and that gives you a great deal of comfort as an Origin coach, that you cover a lot of the options that might be available. I've also had games where I've had a 17th player that I didn't even get onto the field, never put him out there because we didn't need to. So it was just there for security. Some are there tactically, some are there for security, some are there for strategy. But that's just the makeup of your bench. This New South Wales side is going to be a good, hard-working team. Queensland will have to play well to beat them. But brilliance, game breakers, probably we don't have the likes of a Harry Grant or a Reece Walsh. Or a Hamaso. We don't have that sort of scintillating game breaker, do-it-yourself type player.
Zach Lomax on debut.
Zach can certainly chase a kick and make it happen. He can force an error. That's why he's there. He's got a great constitution and he's an aggressive sort of player. I always like him as aggressive. Origin on the wing, gee whiz. I can imagine they'll kick in behind him early. Whether he can turn and out-sprint a Hamaso or a Valentine Holmes, I don't know. Tactically, there is a lot to offer here for both teams. I think Queensland will look at this side and see some opportunities for them. And in a cold and damp Wednesday night in Sydney in the middle of winter,
at a core stadium
at
too.
A core stadium, which is a little slippery. A lot of tries will come from kicks, or that'll be in the mindset of both teams. That early kicks in attacking situations. The beauty there, they've got a player like Dylan Edwards who is so brilliant, absolutely brilliant with his defence and his organising of defence and his speed across the ground and his durability. He thoroughly deserves his position.
All right,
and just on that, it irks me a little bit. We pick our team and Dylan Edwards gets his chance to play Origin, deservedly so. And then people saying James Tedesco's been dumped. James Tedesco's been disrespected. James Tedesco's been sacked. He hasn't. He's just been replaced by a better player right now. James Tedesco was the number one player in this game for a number of years. And he's been a wonderful servant to New South Wales, and he's been brilliant. But the time has just come that this other boy has forced his way in. He's played in the last 4 grand finals. He's won a Clive Churchill medal. He's won 3 premierships. He's churning out numbers unlike anything seen before. He's churning out the sort of numbers that Tedesco was doing years ago. He's the best option for New South Wales at fullback at the moment.
He was picked for Australia on the back of that as well. I think his inclusion on the wing for Australia was an acknowledgement of how good he's been.
I didn't want them to pick him on the wing. I don't like that.
No, but I meant just adding to the resume that, he's also international.
This is not a blight on. This is not a blight on James Tedesco. James Tedesco has served his state brilliantly. But there comes a time where there's just someone better to do the job. And I think Dylan Edwards has been deserved to give that shot. And I hope it's just not a one-off. Like if things don't go to plan next Wednesday night, they've got to persevere. They can't make all these changes and then throw it out after game one. It's a 3-game series. Whatever they do in game one, they're going to be better for game two. So the key is that you want to try and keep the side as stable as possible right throughout the series and get better with each game. And they're going to have to get better each game because if it comes down to a decider, that's going to be in Queensland. You want to be peaking for that game and not making too many changes going into a Suncorp Stadium decider, which the majority of our series get to a decider, don't they? It's intriguing times, but I think it's a good side. There's been a philosophy behind it. It's a new look. It's a new camp. It's a new way of preparing. It'll be interesting to see what the players say when they come back from it. Those that have experienced Origin before, they'll probably compare it to what they've had previously. Times have changed.
What always taking them up there? On a serious note, I mean, he just clearly just wants to get away from everything.
Just get away, and I think media access is fairly limited.
Well, that's a bonus.
It's
might be choppers over the top of the joint.
Yeah, well, it's the biggest show in town, but
Freddie wanted to bring him closer to the action, and Madge has taken them away.
Well, yeah, that's it's one thing. But anyway, it'll all get the test next Wednesday night. Mm-hmm. We can speculate all we want from now, but the test will be next Wednesday night. That'll see whether or not all this has been justified.
Exclusively live and free here on 9, and then Thursday, the night after, we've got Game 2 of the Women's Series in Newcastle, and a bit of news for our loyal listeners and viewers. We're coming back on Tuesday next week. Otherwise, we'd miss Six Tackles with Gus for next week. We're going to have a further look at Origin and do our podcast a day early so we don't miss one. Some good Ask Gus.
Are we going to do a review later in the week? Because we've got Wednesday Origin, we've got Thursday Women's Origin.
If you want.
Do you want to do one on the Friday?
Yeah, let's do Friday.
A quick one?
Yeah. I'm in here Friday anyway. I'm going to spend the time, I'm going to be in here studying swimming on Friday, so let's do that.
Do you want to do a quick one on the Friday?
Yeah.
Just a review of the
I'll do one every day if you
two
want.
Origin games.
Yeah, let's do it. Done. Gus is just schedule a new one.
I think they get pretty sick of listening to us every day, Matthew.
I wouldn't. I could listen to you every day, Gus. Every day. Geez, it was good to see young Cody Ramsey back at training.
Yeah, wonderful.
Wasn't that good?
It's been through a terrible time.
Oh, awful. I mean, there were concerns.
Yeah, he's a long, long way away from
course.
returning to football, but it was just nice for him to be out there and with the boys and feeling the breeze in his face as he runs along there. He's had a terrible time. Lovely kid, lovely family.
Yeah. All right, we've got some Ask Gus questions. Now, Daniel Watson-Hayes has been sending this in forever, and we haven't had time to get to it, so I'm going to throw this one at Gus. Should the West Tigers base themselves in the Macarthur region, allowing for the majority of their home games at Campbelltown? Both the Eels and Panthers have managed to make Western Sydney work commercially with similar infrastructure, population and junior numbers. It's a gold mine.
Yes.
Yep.
So Daniel's been asking that question on social media for a long time, and we haven't got around to it yet. And it takes a respectful answer in that I believe so. I believe that's the future of that particular franchise, is in the development of talent out in that Campbelltown region and all the way through to Group 6. I remember when I was working at Panthers, a number of representatives from the Campbelltown League and from Group 6 were constantly requesting that Panthers take over their area, which would have been ridiculous because we had a huge area ourselves. But they didn't feel as though they were being developed or it was getting the type of love that the junior league needed out there. Now that may have been an accurate appraisal of things. I never really delved into it, but with the joint venture franchise of Western Suburbs and Balmain, I remember Western Suburbs was only a Campbelltown sort of venture late in its sort of existence. It's like a huge growth area that I think has probably been neglected from a development sense. And I would think that whatever was left for the Tigers in inner city has probably evaporated over time, and that the pure growth of that club should come in them in representing themselves out in that area out there. Now, they've built their centre of excellence, their training facility at Concord. They should have at least similar down in the Campbelltown area. The growth area from those that know Sydney, from sort of Liverpool, the crossroads at Liverpool, down Camden Valley Way and down the highway there out towards Campbelltown and then beyond those areas and down to Group 6 and those areas out there is massive. It's absolutely massive. The increase in population, housing, growth area. We're about to have an airport at Badgerys Creek. The population has exploded. In the next decade, that is going to be a potential boon for the game of rugby league in producing talent for not just that area, but for areas all over the competition. The Panthers Junior League, the Parramatta Junior League is a great source of talent. It's the heartland of rugby league here in Sydney. And I think it can be equally as big, if not bigger, in that growth area down to the southwest. So I would be sure that the new CEO of the Tigers, Shane Richardson, would be looking at that area, their presence in that area, their activity in that area, development-wise, helping junior leagues, helping junior league clubs, helping the volunteer system, but then in the elite pathways and development. They do have in their system dual teams. They have a West Magpies teams in the junior representative scene, and they do have Balmain West Tigers or Tigers teams in the junior rep competitions. But I think that's a valid point that Daniel makes, that their future is in the West, is where I believe, and not so much in the inner city.
Yes, because you just jogged my recollection, because the Magpies were at Lidcombe Oval, weren't they, back in the day?
Back in the day, yeah. When it was the Sydney competition, the Magpies were at Lidcombe Oval. And it wasn't Western Suburbs that went to Campbelltown first. It was actually Newtown that went to Campbelltown first. Arana Park, I think it was called back in those days.
Yeah, right.
And it was coached by Chickamore, I think, 1983. So getting to the grand final in 1981 sent the Newtown Jets broke. It was a wonderful achievement and great for the history of the club, but it cost them a bomb. And by the end of 82, their Leeds club was struggling, and financially the club was struggling. In 83, they went out to what I thought was a new growth area there at Campbelltown, and only lasted 12 months. And then Western Suburbs sort of went out there. I can't remember what year that was, but they went and based themselves out there. I remember Tom Radonic was coaching teams there in the 90s.
Didn't he have some battling teams back then, Tommy?
Yeah, and they weren't really teams from the area. It was players that were bought to go there. They bought a lot of players off Canterbury and those sort of teams in that era. And so it's never really been cultivated. It's sort of bubbled along on its own. And I think for a time out there, the Junior League was actually privately run. It wasn't actually run by the Campbelltown League. It was run by a lady who was sort of like her own business. She was running the Junior League out there. I don't know what the system is at the moment, but I think from a New South Wales Rugby League perspective, from a future NRL perspective, and from the West Tigers perspective, they should be based out there. Okay. They really should, and that'll upset Balmain people. But there's not much left in Balmain, other than the Tigers emblem, and the Leeds club's gone. They don't contribute much financially. West Ashfield is another part of that franchise. It's a very profitable club at Ashfield there. They've got a small club alongside the ground out there at Campbelltown. But, there's enough money coming into the game through broadcast rights and sponsorship that you shouldn't be relying too much on your clubs for financial injection. But there are so many kids out there. The population growth out there has exploded incredibly.
All right, let's have a look at the round 13, only an abbreviated round.
Are we finished, are we? Have we finished all our talks?
Well, we've been going for an hour.
All right, okay.
Time flies, eh? Okay. Parramatta, they might get a chance to win here. They got Gutho and Mitch Moses back against Cronulla with no Nico Hines. Well, there's no Jermaine Hopgood, of course, for Para, which is a massive issue. But Braden Trindle's coming back into the team in the absence of Nico, who they're also without Cameron McInnes. So we've got a few teams knocked around, but I don't know, maybe that opens the door for a few surprise results. We'll see this one from 7:30 live and free from CommBank Stadium tomorrow evening.
Yeah, during this period where rep players aren't available, or you'll have rep players backing up, or they won't back up, you'll be speculating with your tips earlier in the week because you won't know the team until they run out onto the field. Tipping can be fraught with danger. We're going to get some lopsided results, and we're going to get some upset results as well. this is hard to pick because I've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks, I think there's been an overreaction at the Eels, and I think that when Moses comes back, and particularly Gutherson coming back with him, is going to make things a hell of a lot better for them, and I'm expecting a vastly improved performance. Now that the Origin side was announced on Monday, they've shown that Mitchell Moses is 100% ready to go, so he's ready to play this week, and I think that's going to make the world of difference for the Eels, and given that their form of recent times, they'll be, really. And the Sharks, well, McGuinness is not playing, Nico Hines is not playing. As you say, Trindle comes back. They are the top team in the competition. On form, you can't go past them to beat the Eels. I just think the Eels will be vastly improved. I'll go Shark, but with no great confidence.
Not Hopgood. That's a huge loss. All right. Newcastle versus Canterbury. Friday night footy. Up at McDonald Jones Stadium. Live and free from 7:30 here on 9. The Knights coming off the bye. They get Daniel Safidi back. And they're not really knocked around too much with Origin, are they? Canterbury. Geez, Toby Sexton played well last week. He was super.
Yeah, he's been really good all year, Toby. He's been playing in the New South Wales Cup. Coaching staff gave Drew Hutchison the chance to start the year, and Drew's been tremendous for us. He hasn't played as a traditional halfback. He's played more as a sort of running lock forward halfback type player, but it's suited the team defensively. I think as of last weekend, we're 11 games in, 12 rounds in. Bulldogs at the moment sits second on the table so far as defence is concerned, so it's been a massive improvement.
He was 17th last year.
Yeah, our coaches and players have done a wonderful job and given the club great credibility. And, still only won less than half their games at the moment, but they've sort of been in every contest, and the back half of the year is important. All of a sudden now they have to play without Crichton, without Burton, and Viliami Kikau's gone down for 6 weeks with a broken hand, so there's certainly some challenges there. And the Knights, despite the fact they lost Ponga a few weeks ago, have been in really good form, so that's a tough one. They only played some time ago. The last time they played, Bulldogs actually beaten them 36-12. It'd be a different scenario this Friday night, I'd imagine.
Okay, Panthers Dragons 5:30 out at Penrith. I'm fascinated for this. I'm going out there for the continuous call team. Dane Laurie comes in at fullback for Penrith. Jesse McLean comes onto the wing. Brad Schneider returns from injury at halfback. Liam Henry goes to the back row. Lindsay Smith comes in at lock. They've done well to cover those positions with good players. Trent Talau makes a debut off the bench, as does Preston Ricky, Maverick Guy and Tyron Peachy. That makes up the bench. Now, Penrith have got a stack out, but don't forget there's 3 out for the Dragons. Ben Hunt, Zach Lomax and Jaden Sewer. So Sione Fainu makes a debut for the season, his second NRL game on the wing. Max Fine comes into the back line for Jack Bird. Jesse Marshke plays halfback, and other changes to the pack as well. So, look, there's a heap of changes for the Dragons, but they're desperately going to miss those Origin players.
Yeah, I think the Fagay brothers come in, and also I think the Couchman brothers are on the bench.
They are.
Who've been really good in form, and after last week's loss, the coach threatened that there would be changes, that players playing in the lower grades. They've got some good young kids coming through the system there at the Dragons and going to be given their chance. Would have been disappointing for them the way that game capitulated the other day. And the Dragons have been an anomaly all year. They either win or they get beaten by big scores. There's sort of nothing in between, and that was another case last week. Panthers, the production line kicks in again, and a lot of kids come in, a few of them on debut, and others have had a little bit of a taste. But the feeling will be that they've been building up towards this. They know that they've got 5 or 6 quality Origin players in their squad. It's a part of the year they've learned to handle very, very well. They are playing at home, and it will be seen. The club will take on the challenge of being able to win without their rep stars. It's become a thing with the Panthers now, and I think they might even be favourites for this.
Heavy favourites.
Yeah, it's quite a wrap on the production system and on the quality of the Panther young kids that are coming in. Dragons, without Ben Hunt and without Zach Lomax, lose a lot of their strike and a lot of their organisation. And I think just on the score of fitness and energy and togetherness, you'd have to favour the Panther to beat them. And I think they probably will.
Can I just ask a quick comment about it? I don't often do this. An individual player. Do you know who's really impressed me this year? Jacob Little.
Oh, he's a good player. Yeah, very dangerous player.
Yeah.
Scored a try the other night. Makes a lot of little half breaks and line breaks. Doesn't always get supported that well, but
He's so lively.
yeah, there's not much of him, but he's on the tip sheet of every opposition coach, and I think he's a very underrated player.
Dolphins, Raiders at Redcliffe at the home base. Trey Fuller gets another chance with a hammer in Origin. And what else is there? Mark Nichols into the starting team with Felice Kafusi, 18th man for Queensland. Anthony Milford gets a reprieve. Josh Papali'i comes back for Canberra from suspension, and Mariota joins the pack with Hudson Young in the New South Wales team.
So Canberra missing anyone from Origin?
Hudson Young.
Oh, Hudson Young. Yeah. Yeah. So last week, if you look at the Dolphins' draw this year, and I'll stand corrected on this, I think of their first 10 games, 9 of them were in Queensland.
Really?
They got a brilliant draw so far as travel is concerned. They also have played pretty much predominantly the teams at the bottom of the ladder. The only 2 teams that they've played that are sort of up in contention were Broncos and Manly, but the rest of the games have been against teams that I think are outside the 8. And then to go to Warriors last weekend, their first long trip away from home, and be beaten by such an understrength side, I think is a concern.
They've had 9 games in Queensland.
Yeah, I think it was 9 out of their first 10 or something like that.
And the other one was, the exception to that was in Darwin.
Darwin, yeah. So they've had if they wanted to select their own draw, they couldn't have gone better for them. But it was a nice draw to start the year to get them going. I can only imagine on the score of balance there's going to be some tough games coming up. They haven't played many of the top sides at all,
Well,
if any.
Cronulla in Cronulla, Melbourne at Suncorp. They play the Dragons at Cogra. They got Penrith at Penrith. So they've got a lot of home games here. Canterbury at Bundaberg, another one in Queensland. Melbourne at Amy Park. They play the Broncos at Suncorp, and then Newcastle at Newcastle. They haven't been on the road much.
Yeah. Anyway, so their testing times are coming up.
Yeah.
And I think the Raiders will beat them here. I think the Raiders are playing with tenacity. They'll be disappointed with their performance last week against the Roosters. But the Roosters can do that. It can look bad, but it's not. The Roosters can beat you by 40, and it's not that bad. It's just that they've got these freakish players and they score tries, and the scoreboard can run away from you, and it's not really a reflection of the effort. The Raiders before that have been pretty gritty in most of their games this year, and coming off the loss, I'm tipping an upset here. I think Dolphins might be favourite, are they?
I would imagine so.
Yeah, I'm going to tip Raider.
Okay.
I'm going to tip Raiders to beat Dolphins. So I'm going to go with...
one more game.
Oh, right.
Roosters Cowboys at Allianz. Sunday footy.
All right.
3 o'clock live and free.
Yeah.
Do I need to go much further? They've been decimated. North Queensland.
Yeah. Rooster will be winning that one. So we'll go with Shark. We'll go with Panther. I'm going to go with Raider for the upset, and I'm going to go with Rooster. So,
Okay.
yeah, gamble responsibly during the Origin period.
All right. We're back Tuesday, and as exclusively revealed by Gus, we're back Friday. We've got 2 podcasts next week. How good's Origin time? We'll just talk about it day in, day out. We're blue in the face.
Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Tuesday and
Tuesday
Friday?
and Friday. That's what you wanted. That's what you get.
All right, mate.
That's 6 Tackles with Gus for this week. We'll talk to you next Tuesday.
This year, NRL on 9 is your one-stop shop for all footy.
That's right, Freddie. Not about the highlights. Action. 7 days a week.
Billy and Gus podcast, get that on your drive on the way home. Immortal Behaviour. Grab a seat on the couch for that. And, of course, my favourite, Freddie in the Own.
The best footy brains, the biggest games.
Don't trust the algorithm. Subscribe to NRL on 9 and get all your entertainment there.